Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at something really interesting that you sent us called Chasing the Feeling.
Yeah.
And it's all about the sociology and the culture
hmm
behind what makes us, feel fulfilled and happy.
Yeah, that's right. I think your notes here really kind of dig into how societal norms and values shape what we desire
Yeah.
and ultimately what we end up chasing in life.
And it's like a personal think tank almost that you've created with these notes.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to dive into it. Where do we even begin with something like this?
Well, I think a good place to start is with this kind of tension that your notes highlight right away between materialism and minimalism.
Yeah.
So, you've defined materialism as this pursuit of goods and wealth as markers of success and happiness.
Right.
Whereas minimalism is kind of about, simplifying, reducing possessions,
Yeah.
prioritizing what truly matters.
Okay, but I'm already feeling a little bit stuck because we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us to buy more, have more, be more. So
Right.
how can minimalism even compete with that?
That's a great question, and I think it highlights a key insight here, which is that materialism thrives on external sources,
Hmm.
like advertising.
Yeah.
Those ads you see everywhere, they're not just selling a product, they're selling a feeling,
Right.
and often a feeling of lack
Yeah.
that you need to fill with their product.
I see what you mean, like those targeted ads that seem to know exactly what insecurities to exploit.
Exactly.
And it's hard to resist that pull, sometimes at least.
Yeah.
But does that mean that minimalism is the answer then? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think minimalism offers a different perspective, right?
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on acquiring more, it encourages you to kind of step back and examine what you truly value
Hmm.
and find, joy in experiences and relationships, personal growth.
Yeah.
It's about shifting the focus inward rather than outward.
So it's not necessarily about rejecting material possessions altogether.
Right.
It's about being more conscious about their role in our lives, choosing quality over quantity, perhaps.
Exactly. And it's not just about stuff, it's about mental clutter too, right?
Yeah.
Minimalism encourages you to declutter your mind, let go of unnecessary obligations,
Mm-hmm.
create space for what truly brings you joy.
This makes me think about, those social media feeds filled with like perfectly curated lives.
Yes.
It's hard not to get caught up in comparing ourselves to those images.
And that brings us to another really crucial point from your notes, which is this idea of the pressure cooker of social comparison.
Right.
So, you've defined it as evaluating ourselves against others,
Yeah.
which can really impact our self-perception and goals.
It's almost like social media is a highlight reel of everyone else's successes.
Right.
Makes it harder to appreciate our own.
Absolutely. And that's where things get a little bit tricky, I think, because this constant comparison can push us toward external markers of success, like chasing that picture-perfect lifestyle, even if it doesn't align with what truly matters to us.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into that trap. Your notes mentioned an example of this,
I
right?
do.
It's something about chasing financial success
Right.
because it seems like everyone else is doing it.
Exactly. So let's say someone is constantly bombarded with images of their peers flaunting their wealth, right? They might start chasing financial success even if what they truly crave is, more time for creative pursuits or
Yeah.
meaningful relationships.
It's so easy to lose sight of our own internal compass when we're constantly comparing ourselves to others.
It is, and I think that's a key takeaway here is that chasing external validation rarely leads to lasting fulfillment. It's about aligning your pursuits with your authentic values,
Yeah,
not with what you think you should be doing based on what you see around you.
I like that.
Yeah.
Aligning with your authentic values.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like we're all playing this game
Mm-hmm.
where we're trying to keep up with everyone else,
Right.
but we're not even sure if we're playing the right game.
Yeah. It's like everyone's given a different rule book, but no one tells you that.
Right, exactly.
And that's where this whole chasing the feeling journey gets even more complex, I think.
Okay.
Because it's not just about, individual desires, it's also about different cultures define success and happiness.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So tell me more about those cultural constructs of success that you mentioned.
Well, your notes contrast two major frameworks here. Western individualism
Okay.
and Eastern collectivism.
Okay.
So, in Western cultures like the U.S.,
Right.
there's a strong emphasis on individual achievement, autonomy, personal fulfillment.
So like that pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of mentality.
Yeah, reaching that peak of individual success. But it goes deeper than that, I think, even when Western cultures embrace, internal fulfillment, like
Yeah.
spirituality or mindfulness,
Right.
it's often seen as a way to enhance, individual well-being, not necessarily as a path to like collective good.
Yeah. So how does Eastern collectivism then offer a different perspective?
Well, in Eastern cultures, the focus shifts from me to we.
Okay.
So harmony, community group well-being are prioritized. Fulfillment is often found in strong relationships, family bonds, the success of the collective, rather than just individual achievements.
So instead of climbing that corporate ladder,
Yeah.
someone might find fulfillment in contributing to their family business or supporting their community.
Exactly. And imagine someone in Japan finding their ikigai, which roughly translates to like reason for being,
Right.
through their role in their community or family.
Yeah.
That sense of purpose and belonging is deeply ingrained in many Eastern cultures.
Wow, that's beautiful. It makes you wonder if Western cultures are missing out on something by placing so much emphasis on individual achievement.
It's not about saying one approach is better than the other.
Right?
It's about understanding how these different cultural frameworks shape our definitions of success and happiness.
And your notes also mention Eastern philosophies like Buddhism and Taoism,
Yes.
which emphasize, internal peace and harmony over external achievements.
Yeah.
How do those tie in?
Well, these philosophies have been influencing Eastern cultures for centuries.
Right.
And they really encourage people to find fulfillment through inner peace and spiritual growth rather than through material possessions or social status.
So it's not about chasing external validation, but rather cultivating internal contentment.
Exactly. It's about accepting what is living in the present moment, finding joy in simplicity.
It seems like that could be a powerful antidote to the pressures of social comparison and materialism that we were talking about before.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another important layer here, I think, which is globalization.
Yeah.
As different cultures interact and blend, individuals are exposed to a wider range of values and beliefs about what constitutes a fulfilling life.
I can imagine that could be both liberating and confusing.
It is. It's like having this buffet of different fulfillment philosophies laid out before you,
Yeah.
and you're trying to decide what to put on your plate.
That's a good way to put it. So for someone listening right now who might be feeling overwhelmed by all these different paths to fulfillment,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them? How can they start to untangle all these threads and figure out what truly resonates with them?
Well, I think it starts with self-reflection. Asking yourself, how has my cultural background shaped my definition of success and happiness?
Okay.
What values were instilled in me growing up?
Yeah.
What truly brings me joy and purpose?
Those are some big questions.
Yeah.
It's like we're encouraging our listeners to embark on their own personal chasing the feeling expedition.
And as they explore, they might discover that the answer isn't about choosing one culture's approach over another,
Right.
but rather about creating their own unique blend.
That's a great point. Taking the best of different worlds and crafting a definition of fulfillment that feels authentic and meaningful to you.
Exactly.
So if we look at the bigger picture now, we can see how all these concepts we've been discussing are interconnected. Like we talked about how materialism often feeds off social comparison.
Right.
We use possessions to signal our status,
Uh-huh.
try to keep up with those around it.
It becomes this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Like compare ourselves to others, feel inadequate, then try to fill that void with more stuff.
Right. But that rarely brings lasting happiness.
Rarely.
And with globalization, we're seeing a clash of cultural values.
Yeah.
It's like this melting pot of different perspectives on what constitutes a fulfilling life.
And from that clash, we see new movements emerging, like anti-consumerism, environmental sustainability mindfulness.
Yeah.
They challenge traditional notions of success and encourage a more internal, experience-based fulfillment.
Your notes didn't mention any specific examples of this in action. I'm wondering if you have any real-world examples that come to mind.
Sure. So think about the rise of quiet quitting.
Oh,
It's not actually about quitting your job,
right.
but it's about setting boundaries and prioritizing your well-being over the constant social culture grind.
So it's like people are saying, I'm not going to sacrifice my mental and emotional health for a bigger paycheck or a fancier title.
Exactly. They're choosing to define success on their own terms,
Yeah.
aligning their work with their values and creating a life that feels more balanced and fulfilling.
It seems like a lot of people are realizing that true happiness doesn't come from external validation or material possessions, but from finding meaning and purpose in their lives.
And that realization is a powerful shift in consciousness. It's about stepping off the treadmill of more, and finding contentment in what truly matters.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
like they're saying, I'm done chasing someone else's version of the feeling. I'm ready to define it for myself.
Precisely, and that's a beautiful thing to witness.
You know, it's amazing to think about all these factors, from cultural norms to social media,
Yeah.
how they can influence our understanding of fulfillment.
It really highlights the importance of being aware of those influences.
Right.
So we can make conscious choices about what we chase.
So let's take a moment to recap everything we've uncovered in this deep dive into chasing the feeling.
Okay.
We started by exploring the tension between materialism and minimalism, and recognizing how advertising and social comparison can really fuel that desire for more,
Right.
even if it doesn't align with our values.
Exactly.
And we delved into the power of cultural constructs,
Yeah.
seeing how Western individualism often emphasizes, personal achievement, while Eastern collectivism prioritizes things like harmony and community well-being.
It's so fascinating how these different cultural lenses can lead us down, very different paths in our pursuit of fulfillment.
But I think what struck me most is this idea that true fulfillment isn't about blindly following any one path.
Right.
It's about forging your own,
Yeah.
taking elements from different philosophies and cultures, and crafting a definition that resonates with your authentic self.
Absolutely.
So for you listening, I want to leave you with this question. Knowing all of this, what's one small step you can take today to better align your pursuits with what truly matters to you?
That's a good question. I think it could be as simple as unsubscribing from a social media account that makes you feel inadequate, or spending an hour doing something that brings you joy.
Those are great ideas. And remember, this deep dive was just the beginning.
Yeah.
It's about sparking that curiosity and encouraging you to continue exploring these ideas in your own life.
Keep asking yourself, what does chasing the feeling mean to me? And trust that the answers will reveal themselves in time.
I love that.
Yeah.
So until next time, keep diving deep
Yes.
and keep chasing what truly matters.
Yeah.